The Hidden Leaf village lay cloaked in the pale glow of dawn, its streets still quiet, the air thick with the scent of dew and lingering smoke from last night's bonfires. Naruto Uzumaki stood atop the Hokage monument, his bright orange jacket fluttering in the cool breeze as he gazed down at the village he had sworn to protect. His blue eyes, usually brimming with boundless energy, were shadowed by something unfamiliar, doubt. The recent whispers among the villagers had grown louder, murmurs of a truth so shocking it threatened to unravel everything he believed in. Madara controlled everything? He muttered to himself, his fists clenching at the thought. The name alone sent a chill down his spine. Madara Uchiha, the legendary shinobi whose shadow loomed over the ninja world even in death. If it were true, then every battle, every sacrifice, had it all been part of some grand illusion? Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha leaned against the stone face of the fourth Hokage, his Sharingan glinting crimson in the dim light. He had heard the rumors too, and unlike Naruto, he wasn't surprised. You still refuse to see it, Dobi? Sasuke said, his voice low and measured. The threads of fate have always been pulled by the Uchiha. Madara's influence never faded, it just took a different form. Naruto shot him a sharp look. You're saying we've been puppets this whole time? Sasuke smirked, though there was no humor in it. Isn't that what I've been trying to tell you? Power, destiny, it's all an illusion. The only truth is what we make of it. Before Naruto could retort, the ground beneath them trembled, a deep, guttural roar echoing through the valley. The trees at the edge of the village splintered as a monstrous figure emerged, a towering beast cloaked in swirling dark chakra, its 9 tails lashing like whips of pure destruction. Kurama? Naruto gasped, but this wasn't his trusted ally. The fox's eyes were blood red, its snarl twisted with malice. Behind it, a familiar silhouette stood, his long hair whipping in the turbulent air, the iconic gunbai strapped to his back. Madara Uchiha. Naruto's breath hitched. This wasn't some ghost or imposter, this was the real Madara, resurrected and radiating power that made the air itself tremble. You've done well, Naruto Uzumaki, Madara said, his voice smooth yet dripping with condescension. But your strength was never yours to begin with. Every step you've taken, every victory you've claimed, it was all by my design. Naruto's blood boiled. Like hell it was, he roared, his body erupting into a cloak of golden chakra, the 9 tails power surging through him. Sasuke's Sharingan spun into the Rinnegan, his sword unsheathing with a metallic hiss. Madara merely chuckled. Let's see if you can back up your words. With a flick of his wrist, the corrupted Kurama lunged, its massive paw slamming down with enough force to crater the earth. Naruto dodged at the last second, flipping midair and forming a Rasengan in his palm, the spiraling sphere crackling with energy. He thrust it into the beast's side, but the attack barely fazed it. Kurama's dark chakra absorbed the blow, its tails whipping around to strike back. Naruto barely managed to block with a chakra-coated arm, the impact sending him skidding across the ground. Sasuke moved like lightning, his Rinnegan flaring as he teleported behind Madara, his blade aimed for the man's spine. But Madara didn't even turn. A skeletal ribcage of Susanoo materialized around him, deflecting the strike with a shower of sparks. Predictable, Madara mused, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning lazily. Sasuke gritted his teeth, activating his Amaterasu. Black flames erupted around Madara, only to be swallowed by a sudden vortex of wind-style jutsu. Naruto charged again, this time layering his Rasengan with Sage Mode, the natural energy amplifying its power tenfold. He slammed it into Kurama's jaw, the explosion of force sending the beast reeling. But before he could press the advantage, Madara appeared in front of him, his fist clad in crackling lightning. Naruto barely crossed his arms in time, the Chidori striking with enough force to send him crashing through a row of trees. Pain flared through his body, but he forced himself up, his eyes narrowing. This wasn't just a fight, it was a reckoning. Sasuke regrouped beside him, his Rinnegan glowing. We can't hold back, he muttered. Naruto nodded, his chakra flaring brighter. Then let's end this. In unison, they unleashed their ultimate techniques. Naruto's Rasen Shuriken spiraled through the air, while Sasuke's perfect Susanoo swung its colossal sword. The attacks converged on Madara, the resulting explosion lighting up the sky like a second sun. But as the dust cleared, Madara stood unscathed, his Rinnegan gleaming. Is that all? He taunted. Naruto's heart pounded. This wasn't just about strength, it was about breaking free from the strings that had bound them their entire lives. And if Madara truly controlled everything, then this fight was only the beginning. The battlefield trembled as Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back, their breaths ragged but their resolve unshaken. Around them, the remnants of their allies lay exhausted, their chakra nearly depleted from the relentless assault. Above them, Madara Uchiha hovered like a god, his Rinnegan eyes gleaming with cold amusement. "You still resist?" he taunted, his voice echoing across the shattered landscape. "Your defiance is meaningless. Every move you make is by my design." Naruto gritted his teeth, his nine tails cloak flickering as he pushed past his limits. "Like hell we'll just roll over," he roared, his voice raw with determination. Beside him, Sasuke's Sharingan spun wildly, analyzing Madara's every subtle movement. "He's toying with us," Sasuke muttered. "But he's not invincible. There's an opening, right after he uses Limbo." With a shared nod, they launched forward, their movements a blur. Naruto formed a barrage of shadow clones, each one weaving hand signs in perfect sync. Wind style, Rasen Shuriken. The spiraling blades of chakra screamed through the air, homing in on Madara from all angles. At the same time, Sasuke's left eye flared, Amaterasu. Black flames erupted around Madara, sealing his escape. Madara smirked, his Rinnegan pulsing. Predictable. With a single hand seal, he summoned a colossal Susanoo, its skeletal arms swatting away the Rasen Shuriken like flies. The Amaterasu flame sizzled against its ribcage but failed to penetrate. Before Naruto or Sasuke could react, Madara's Limbo clones materialized behind them, their fists slamming into their backs with crushing force. Naruto gasped as the impact sent him skidding across the ground, his vision blurring. But he refused to stay down. Digging his fingers into the earth, he forced himself up, his body burning with the nine tails chakra. "Kurama, give me everything you've got." The fox's voice rumbled in his mind. "Don't die on me, idiot." In an instant, Naruto's cloak erupted into a blazing golden aura, his wounds sealing shut as his power surged beyond anything he'd ever felt. Sasuke, meanwhile, had activated his perfect Susanoo, its violet wings unfurling as he soared into the sky. His Rinnegan pulsed, Amino Tejikara. And in a flash, he swapped places with one of Madara's Limbo clones, appearing right in front of the real Madara. His sword, crackling with lightning, slashed downward. Madara barely dodged, but the blade grazed his cheek, drawing blood for the first time in the battle. Madara's eyes widened, then narrowed. "Impressive," he admitted, wiping the blood away. "But let's see how you handle this." With a thunderous clap, he summoned meteors from the heavens, each one larger than the last, hurtling toward the battlefield. Naruto didn't hesitate. "Sasuke, now." He leapt into the air, his golden chakra forming a massive tailed beast bomb. Sasuke's Susanoo arrow knocked itself, infused with the power of Amaterasu. In perfect unison, they unleashed their attacks. The tailed beast bomb collided with the first meteor, obliterating it in a blinding explosion, while Sasuke's flaming arrow pierced through the second, reducing it to rubble. But Madara wasn't done. With a flick of his wrist, he activated the infinite Tsukiyomi, the moon's light washing over the world. Naruto and Sasuke felt their bodies grow heavy, their eyelids drooping, until Kurama's roar snapped Naruto back to reality. "Don't look at it, moron." Naruto shook his head, then grabbed Sasuke's arm, flooding him with chakra to break the genjutsu. Madara's smirk faltered. "How?" Sasuke's Rinnegan blazed. "We're not your puppets." With a final, desperate surge of power, they charged. Naruto's fists glowed with sage energy, each punch shaking the earth, while Sasuke's blade danced like lightning, forcing Madara onto the defensive. The clash of their energies sent shockwaves ripping through the battlefield, the ground splitting beneath them. Madara, for the first time, felt the sting of doubt. These children were pushing him further than anyone ever had. His composure cracked. "Enough," he bellowed, his Susanoo morphing into its final form, a towering specter of destruction. Naruto and Sasuke didn't flinch. They had one last gambit. As Madara's sword descended, Naruto hurled himself forward, his Rasengan meeting the blade in a cataclysmic explosion. The force sent them both flying, but Sasuke was already moving, his Rinnegan activated the most forbidden technique. Chibaku Tensei. A black orb formed in his palm, its gravity pulling Madara inexorably toward it. Madara struggled, but the combined exhaustion of battle and the sheer weight of the technique slowed him. "You." Naruto, battered but unbroken, appeared above him, his hand outstretched. "This ends now." With a final, deafening roar, he drove his fist into Madara's chest, the impact resonating like thunder. The world went white. When the dust settled, Madara lay motionless, his body encased in stone. Naruto and Sasuke collapsed to their knees, their strength spent. But they had done it. Against all odds, they had won. The battlefield was silent. Then, slowly, the cheers of their allies rose, a chorus of victory, of hope. Naruto grinned weakly. We really pulled it off, huh? Sasuke, despite himself, smirked. Took you long enough. But as the sun rose over the shattered land, a shadow stirred in the distance. Unseen. Unheard. The true puppet master had yet to make his move. The battle was over. The war was not. The air crackled with energy as Naruto and Sasuke stood battered but unbroken, their eyes locked onto Madara, who loomed above them like a god of ruin. The battlefield was a wasteland of shattered earth and smoldering chakra, the remnants of their desperate struggle. Madara's Rinnegan gleamed with cold amusement as he raised a hand, the very fabric of reality warping under his command. You still don't understand, he intoned, his voice echoing with the weight of centuries. This world was always meant to bend to my will. Naruto's fists clenched, his knuckles white beneath frayed bandages. Kurama's chakra flickered around him, a dying flame refusing to be extinguished. We've come too far to let you decide everyone's fate, he growled, his voice raw but unyielding. Beside him, Sasuke's Sharingan whirled, his body trembling from exhaustion yet still thrumming with defiance. Enough talk, Sasuke spat, his sword humming with black flames. This ends now. Madara smirked, then vanished, reappearing behind them in a blur. Naruto barely had time to pivot before a fist of pure force slammed into his ribs, sending him skidding across the battlefield. Sasuke lunged, his blade carving through the air, but Madara caught it mid-swing, crushing the steel in his grip. Predictable, he sneered, driving a knee into Sasuke's gut. The Uchiha coughed blood, his vision swimming, but he refused to fall. Naruto roared, pushing himself up as Kurama's chakra surged anew, cloaking him in a fiery mantle. He charged, a golden streak against the storm-darkened sky, fists blazing with Rasengans. Madara blocked the first, countered the second, but the third struck true, a devastating impact that sent shockwaves rippling through the earth. Yet Madara only laughed, his body already regenerating. Is this all you have? Sasuke seized the opening, his Rinnegan flaring as he unleashed Amaterasu, the black flames engulfing Madara's torso. For a moment, it seemed to work, until Madara's form twisted, the flames dissipating into nothing. Foolish, he sighed, before slamming a palm into Sasuke's chest, sending him crashing into the ruins of a cliffside. Naruto's heart pounded. They were running out of time, out of strength. But then, a whisper in his mind. Not just Kurama's voice, but all the tailed beasts, their chakra intertwining with his own. Believe in us, Naruto, they murmured. His eyes widened as warmth flooded his veins, his body glowing with newfound power. Across the field, Sasuke felt it too, the stirring of something ancient, something dormant within his Rinnegan. The sage's power, resonating with Naruto's. Their eyes met, and in that instant, they understood. Madara sensed the shift, his smirk faltering for the first time. What? Naruto moved first, his speed transcendent, a whirlwind of fists and chakra. Madara barely dodged, his perfect reflexes failing as Naruto's strikes grew faster, sharper. Sasuke followed, his sword reforged in celestial flames, each slash carving through space itself. The two moved as one, their attacks synchronized in perfect harmony. Madara countered with a roar, summoning meteors from the heavens, but Naruto shattered them with a single Rasen Shuriken, the explosion lighting the sky. Sasuke teleported behind Madara, his blade aimed for the heart, but Madara twisted, gripping Sasuke's wrist. You lose, he snarled. Then, Naruto's hand clamped onto Madara's shoulder, his other palm glowing with a Rasengan infused with the power of all 9 beasts. No, Naruto said, his voice steady. You lose. The impact was cataclysmic. Light swallowed the battlefield, a deafening roar drowning all sound. When the dust cleared, Madara staggered, his body flickering between existence and oblivion. Impossible. He choked, his form unraveling. I controlled everything. But you couldn't control us, Sasuke finished, his blade piercing Madara's chest. The world held its breath as Madara's body disintegrated, his final scream fading into the wind. Silence fell, broken only by the ragged gasps of the two warriors. Naruto collapsed to his knees, his body spent but his spirit unbroken. Sasuke swayed, catching himself on his sword. Around them, the battlefield lay still, the war finally over. In the days that followed, the world began to heal. Villages rebuilt, alliances forged anew. Naruto and Sasuke, once enemies bound by fate, stood side by side as symbols of peace. The cycle of hatred had been broken, not by destiny, but by their choice. As the sun rose over a new era, Naruto turned to Sasuke, a tired but genuine smile on his face. "We did it." Sasuke exhaled, the ghost of a smirk touching his lips. "Yeah. We did." And for the first time in a long time, the future felt limitless.